I love making something out of nothing. I'm not trained, but I am brave and determined. Of course, I could hire a professional, but DIY first.
Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my kitchen makeover. So after about a year of no work, I decided to go ahead and try to finish this kitchen as quickly as possible. So I'm sealing off the floors and reinstalling the baseboards. If you want a piece of advice, don't cheap out on the tools. Like, don't cheap out too much. I don't spend a lot of money on tools, but this caulk gun is so cheap that I actually injured myself trying to squeeze it repeatedly. So don't do that. Here I'm filling in all of the holes on the cabinets and also on the baseboards, prepping for paint.
Okay, so next is the toe kick. Because I built the cabinets kind of on a platform of 2x4s, that's not attractive. Plus you can see the screws and the irregulation in the wood. So I'm going to use these 1/4 inch pieces of plywood. I'm cutting them down to size and I'm going to prime and paint these the same color as the cabinets. Then attach these to the front of the 2x4s and that'll conceal the toe kick. So that's what I'm going to do now.
When I installed the countertop, I sealed the gap with clear caulk, silicone actually, and I didn't put a gap filler in, so over time it kind of pulled away from the wall and pulled some of the paint off the wall. So here I removed it and I'm resealing it, and while that dries, I am edge banding the shelves that will go in the cabinets. I am also filling in some holes. I wasn't sure if these were going to be like stable shelves that don't move or adjustable. I decided to make them adjustable, so I needed to fill in the pocket holes and all of the cracks. These are supposed to be cabinet grade sheets of plywood, but as you can see, that's kind of on one side and the other side not so much. So if I did this project again, I would probably invest in better quality plywood. If you notice those little white things on my makeshift workbench, those are actually brackets that hold in things like mini blinds. I have some of those little paint triangles, but I couldn't find them, so I used those to elevate the plywood, but I only had a few, so I only had enough for 3. So I made these little jigs with scrap pieces of plywood and screws to be able to elevate the plywood so I could go ahead and seal the other side while the first side was drying. And so now we're ready to go ahead and seal that gap. And I'm using clear caulk. And I took a spoon and put it in a Ziploc bag to be able to take off the excess. And it worked pretty good. And then I went ahead and peeled the tape off while it was still wet. didn't get to show you the pantry, but I built this and then I lost the footage to it. But basically I took an existing cabinet and I built around it to create this. So I built 2 smaller cabinets on the side and 2 larger ones on top. I made the countertops match the other countertop, and I made pull-out shelves in different places where I thought I would need them.
I need to create trim to go at the top of the cabinets, and the most economical option I thought of was to use a 1x4. So I'm gonna cut this down to the right width, and I'm gonna just do 1.25 inches, I think, and that should pretty much fill in the gap. I put some spacers at the top of the refrigerator cabinet since there wasn't anything to nail to, so I'll nail the corners into that, and then I can fill in any cracks or gaps with caulk.
So by using this method, I was able to get 2 pieces of trim from each piece of wood, which saved a lot of money. I did install the side pieces first, and then I would measure the piece that would go across and then cut that. So I tried to make sure that my measurements were on point so that I wouldn't be wasteful. And I had to do a little bit of maneuvering to get that tiny corner piece in, but I was able to get the angle pretty close, and I filled in the gaps with caulk. For the pantry, I had to be kind of like a MacGyver. I made this piece and added another piece to it, and that is so I can put this trim at the top on the side. I'm not able to get my nail gun in between where the wall and the cabinet is, so I used that little piece to try to make it stick to the top. I put some liquid nails on it to try to make it attach. And I had to put spacers on that side as well to fill in the gap. And again, I did the sides first, and then I measured the front piece and cut it to size. And because I used glue, I had to figure out how to make the wood make contact with the top of the cabinet. So I used some clamps and some scrap pieces of wood, and then I used another clamp, and that was able to pull that piece in tight enough for it to be able to make contact. So you can see what a tight fit this is. So I used liquid nails on this part, and I wedged a scrap piece of wood in between the cabinet trim and the wall to try to apply pressure. And then I was able to use my nail gun at the bottom to get that piece in. And so I caulked all of the seams with paintable caulk.
Right. Get that zoom. Look at that. Yeah, that's pretty clean.
This observation chair for some reason.